Wondering what's coming up in this week's comics? We've got the origin of Frank Castle and how he becomes the Cosmic Ghost Rider, more Doctor Strange Damnation, and Dr. Star adds to the Black Hammer universe. What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is Preview Picks, the show where I go over the comic books coming out on Wednesday, give you an idea what they're all about, and let you know whether it's something you should talk to your comic book shop about. Make sure you subscribe to get one of these every single Monday. The first book that I want to talk about is All New Wolverine number 31. A lot of people were thinking that Wolverine was going to be ending after issue 30, or was going to be taking on a new writer, new protagonist, because Wolverine has just recently returned from the dead, which you can follow up on in Infinity Countdown. However, it's still going strong, and in this one we actually see Gabby, aka Honey Badger, teaming up with her best buddy Deadpool. So this is going to be a pretty interesting story. Maybe not for everybody, but I think it's going to be entertaining. Otherwise, we want to take a look at DC's Teen Titans number 17, which is the Super Sons of Tomorrow, the Superboy of Tomorrow, the Batman of Tomorrow, all that kind of stuff where Tim Drake turned into Savior. In the aftermath of this event, what do the Teen Titans do after they're evicted from Titan's Tower? That's going to be a pretty interesting place for people to jump onto, especially if they haven't been following along with Teen Titans up until this point. Outside of Marvel and DC, let's talk about Valiant's X-O Man-O-War number 12 by Matt Kindt, and this has been one of the best books coming out of Valiant, and one that I've really been loving. So I would recommend picking up number 12 if it wasn't in the middle of a story arc, but it is. So I would say go back to issue number 1, see if it's something that you're really interested in. There's probably some trades out there that you can pick up. So it's one of the books that I'm recommending, and if you want to kind of jump in, I'd say go back a few issues or wait until the next arc comes out. It's well worth your wait. Of course, as Brian Michael Bendis is leaving to go to DC, we see the end of some of his stories. We had Defenders number 10 finishing up its story run last week, and now we've got Jessica Jones number 17 heading into the final stretches of the Purple Man arc. I haven't been reading Jessica Jones for quite some time, since the end of Secret Empire, and Civil War 2, really. So it's just one of those things where it's a good book, it's solid, it's one of the characters that he really helped create and define, but it's not quite something that I'm interested in. Same thing with Invincible Iron Man, which is 597. As we see Tony Stark return from his comatose state, we have this kind of battle between Riri Williams and Doom, who's still taking up the infamous Iron Man role, and there's all these kind of things that really need to hammer themselves out before we get Dan Slott taking over after Invincible Iron Man number 600 or 601, when Brian Michael Bendis leaves and Slott comes on. So there's a lot of questions to be answered, but I'm just not really interested because none of the plot lines and storylines really work for me as it stands. Speaking of hopping to DC, let's go to Silencer number 2, which brings about the tale of this female hitman who's basically like an enhanced version of the Punisher that's got a metahuman ability where she can create a bubble of silence around her and her adversary. So the protagonist was a very strong one, the character-driven storyline was very good. The thing is that I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of John Romita Jr.'s art. However, the one thing that is relatively misleading about these DC New Age of Heroes titles is that the starting artists, the one that they basically sell the books on, don't stick around after the second or third issue. So Romita Jr.'s art is going to kind of go by the wayside, which is nice, but I feel like I've been sold a bill of goods that I'm not getting the payoff for. So I'm interested to see where this book goes, where this second issue really takes up, and whether it's something that's going to keep me around. While we're sticking with DC, let's talk about Action Comics number 998, which is Dan Jurgens' story of Booster Gold and Superman taking off through time, and then we get the final confrontation between Val-Zod, Zod, Superman, Booster Gold. Their time machine's all out of whack, Skeets is blown up. There's so much going on in Action Comics, and it's a really long, protracted story that Dan Jurgens is telling for this, but we know that's because Brian Michael Bendis is taking over Action Comics. So he's got to get one really good last story in before he goes on to his new title, or just takes over just doing Batman Beyond as his only one. I'm not sure what's in store for Dan Jurgens, but I wish him the best, and I hope that this is going to be a barn burner of a final story arc for him. While we're talking about story arcs that are going to lead into the finality and a reboot, let's talk about Avengers number 682, which continues No Surrender. So No Surrender is the combination of Mark Waid, Jim Zub, and Al Ewing, and they're all writing this No Surrender Avengers storyline, and it's been coming out every single week, and it's just carrying on all these different things, but we just recently learned in the Marvel solicitations that it's not going to it might not have any consequences, but that's the most interesting thing, because I want to see how Jason Aaron picks up those things and runs. No Surrender is still a book that I'm not super interested in because it's not necessarily speaking to me, but I feel like it's going to be one of those things that reads better as a trade or a hardcover, so I might have to go back and check it out. But I'm still getting all the issues, so it's not really a huge concern of mine, but for those people that are enjoying it, I hope it stays fantastic. For those people that haven't picked it up, you can wait. There is a book that you can't really wait on, and that is Detective Comics 975, which is an anniversary issue, but it is also the trial of Batwoman. So after the cold-blooded murder, or the putting down of a dangerous felon, she is kind of under trial, or she's being accused and defending herself in front of the Bat court, the Bat family. People are taking her sides, people are against her, and the decisions being made by Batman, Tim Drake, and the rest of the Bat family are going to resonate throughout the rest of Detective Comics. So I'm excited to see where this one goes. Detective Comics has really picked up the pace in the last few days, and it's a book that I'm definitely recommending for you guys. And I said definitely, and I really shouldn't. Another book I want to talk about is Doctor Strange number 386. So G.H. Walta is no longer doing the illustrations on this book, and as this is a tie-in for Doctor Strange Damnation, I'm not really surprised. This is going to be continuing on with that Damnation storyline. If you want to check out the review on issue number 1, I can put that in a card up here so that way you can check it out. And what I'm really excited about is Donny Cates' portrayal of Doctor Strange and how everything goes. I was a really big fan of the Loki Sorcerer Supreme arc. You can see a couple of my reviews on that one as well, but I'm just really looking forward to where the progression of Doctor Strange goes and how he's going to continue to portray him. I wish that it wasn't inside an event and we just had some more dedicated time with Doctor Strange outside of the context of this, but beggars can't be choosers. Of course, sticking with Donny Cates as a creator and going with a book that he's also writing, we'll talk about Thanos number 16, where we have the cosmic Ghost Rider Frank Castle and his origin story. So the cover has Galactus with some sort of machine gun rolling up and fighting against Thanos, and there we saw on the last page that you've got the Silver Surfer leading an annihilation wave, and he's the follow-on. Oh my god, there's just so much going on, and you get the backstory of Frank Castle. This is a momentous kind of storyline that Donny Cates is trying to tell, and I'm all on board for it. Give me some more Mad Titan in the future, fighting with himself, against Galactus, against the Silver Surfer, and just, let's go crazy. I'm just on board for crazy. There is a book that we probably won't get much crazy on, and that is Spectacular Spider-Man number 300. So in one of these giant-size anniversary issues that carries a much higher price tag, what we're going to see is Chip Zdarsky and how he pays homage to the history of Spider-Man inside this. So far, he's had Spider-Man do a stand-up comedy set. He's had Spider-Man and his sister, quote-unquote sister, kind of come into combat with pretty much everybody they run into. He's run into Black Panther. There's just so much stuff that he's doing right now. It's going to be interesting to see how he kind of portrays Spider-Man in this kind of a little bit more momentous kind of occasion. I'm excited to see where it goes, but it's not quite as powerful or hopeful, or it's not quite the Spider-Man that I was looking for. Hopefully we're going to get that out of the new creative team that's happening on Amazing after Dan Slott takes off. With all the ongoing titles done, let's talk about the books that are coming out that are brand new number 1s, and let's start with Dark Horse and Dr. Star and the... Man, I just can't get these names. What is this again? Dr. Star and the Kingdom of Lost Tomorrow. So Jeff Lemire has been really developing his Black Hammer universe. Black Hammer is an Eisner Award-winning series, and it's just this fantastic portrayal of what happens when superheroes don't come back from these cataclysmic events. They've been trapped in this parallel dimension, so what we got was we have Black Hammer as the core series with a bunch of one-shots that are the history of these characters and how they really got here and how they've been progressing so far. We had Sherlock Frankenstein and the Legion of Evil, which gave us the background through the voice of Black Hammer's daughter and her search for Sherlock Frankenstein and what he was doing when the heroes kind of disappeared. And now we have a little bit more fleshing out of the universe with Dr. Star. So I'm excited to see where this one goes because I'm a big fan of Black Hammer and big fan of Jeff Lemire as a writer. So that makes me a huge fan of the Black Hammer universe and Jeff Lemire and what he's going to be bringing to this. So I'm excited to see where this goes. It's one that you should probably be picking up. If you're outside of the main two, Dark Horse, Black Hammer, Jeff Lemire, always a solid pickup. Another book that I think is a solid pickup is Doom Patrol JLA number 1, which concludes the Milk Wars saga, which is something that I've been talking about for the last 5 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or however often it's been coming out, and I'm just really enjoying all the kinds of crazy. It's going to set up a lot of new books that are coming out from Young Animal, so instead of Mother Panic, it's Mother Panic AD. Instead of Shade the Changing Girl, it's Shade the Changing Woman, Cave Carson and the Interstellar Eye and all that kind of stuff. The big thing that I notice is that there's a distinct absence of the Doom Patrol comic that was written by Gerard Way, so I'm kind of curious as to see what's going on with that. I might have to tweet at Nick Darrington to see exactly what's going on, but hopefully it's going to pick back up, and this is going to be our last real dose of Doom Patrol without going into these individual books for the near future. So highly recommended for you guys, something I'm going to be picking up for sure. Next, we already talked about Silencer, which is DC New Age of Heroes, so let's talk about another new title and Jeff Lemire, one of my favorite writers, in the Terrifics. So Ivan Reyes and Jeff Lemire are taking on the Terrifics, where you've got Mr. Terrific, you got Plastic Man, you've got, Metamorpho, you've got all these different characters. They're going to make up the Terrifics, and they're going to go out and explore the DC universe and the DC cosmology. I'm really excited to see where this one goes, because exploration into this new unknown cosmic landscape is some of my most interesting, the most interesting storylines that any kind of universe or comic book universe can really explore. Expanding and creating a new, filling in the black holes, finding out that there are more black holes inside that universe are things that are really exciting to me. So I'm really excited for that. One of the books that I think everybody should be picking up. I'm right in there with Sideways, and I'm super excited for this one. And then to finish things off, we're going to talk about another DC title, and that is Mera Number One. So Mera Number One from Dan Abnett is going to be a standalone 6-issue miniseries. You got this phenomenal cover by Nicholas Scott, and I am just stunned by the cover. I'm excited for the storyline. I want to see Mera as a strong, independent female lead in this, and she's earned that position. She is the queen of Atlantis, and how she relates with Aquaman. I haven't been following along with the Aquaman series, but if this is good, it's going to make me go back. I really don't know if this is something for everybody, but it's a book that I'm going to be picking up, and one that I think everybody should be picking up out there as well. But those are my thoughts, and I want to know what you guys think too, so hit me up in the comments down below, and we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.